Well, hello there, happy innovators. Here we are, post-election. How are you doing, huh? You hanging in there? Are you disappointed right now? Or are you extremely happy and euphoric? Or are you somewhere in between, kind of like me, a guy in the center of all of it, because I'm neither left nor right. I don't have a dog in this fight. That's like a poem, isn't it? It rhymes. And what do I see? I see a country that is in flux right now. I see a country that is changing. It's progressing. It's not a small matter. And we're not stagnant. Okay, America is not a country that is stagnant. Like, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot popping off right now, and there's a lot of passion on both sides of the aisle, and in the center too. There's some passion here too. And I love my country like you do, I hope. And I'm a little disheartened by what I'm seeing and some of the things that I'm hearing, but not enough to, have any major effect on me personally. You have to remember, I guess, no matter how passionate we are about our beliefs and our desires and things like that, that they're not the most important things in the world, at least from my perspective. There are other things that are more important than my opinions about things and my feelings about things, or my desires, right? My passionate desire for something. What are the things that are more important? Well, let's start with maybe mutual respect. Treating people with dignity and respect. That's more important to me than my beliefs and my passions. How do we treat each other? That's important. And it's okay to disagree. It's okay to totally disagree and to hate the ideas, but hate the people? Really? Hate the people? Get out. No way. And I do have some doubts and some fears, even though I'm in the center, even though I don't have a dog in the fight. The choices are not without their flaws, okay? And I guess I just kind of have to believe in my heart of hearts that in the end, the boat's not going to get rocked too much. That's the hope, anyway. I operate and function underneath that hope, Like when Obama was elected, there were people that absolutely hated him. And I didn't think he was so bad. And the same with Donald Trump, it's like, I don't hate him. It's not complete chaos, it's not completely bad. Are there things I question, things I don't like? Sure. But there's even things about myself even that I don't like, right? So, I don't know. Maybe I just look at things differently, or maybe I'm just weird. But I don't think so. I get kind of weary, with all the bickering and back and forth and the backbiting and the, this kind of attitude where there's so much vitriol and so much anger that everything becomes null and void. They cancel each other out. There's so much dissent and so much frustration and anger that we kind of cancel each other out. So in the end, nothing winds up changing or being said or being heard, And then, of course, there's all the stuff that's been going on for the past year, has brought us to this, and where do we go from here? Oh boy, there's all sorts of possibilities. And I'm certainly not going to spend the afternoon listing them off on my podcast. I'm not going to give anybody any ideas, but oh boy, America. Bunch of passionate people, man. Americans are passionate people, aren't we? You know, when you think about it, really, it's like, you know, we're such a unique melting pot of people. We are. You know, there's so much passion, you know. Anything that Americans put their minds to, and anything that Americans devote themselves to, it becomes passionate, you know. We're raised that way, you know. We're raised to be passionate people. You know, the framers of our Constitution were passionate people. I mean, you don't become a George Washington unless you're an extremely passionate person about what you believe and what you think, what you believe is right and wrong. You know, the list goes on and on. I mean, think about it. You know, it's kind of cool, isn't it? When you really think about it, when you try to focus on the things that we have in common rather than the things that separate us, we're actually pretty cool. A pretty cool bunch of people over here, you know? Do you ever think about that? I mean, do you ever sit back and look at other American citizens, people that you know, people that you don't know very well, but you've seen them on television or whatever? Do you ever sit back and think, man, I admire them. You know, I admire what they do, what they represent. I admire that. Admiration, you know, for other people, for other citizens, you know, even if they're on the other side of the aisle, you know. Like I remember back in the day, there's a talk show host named Rush Limbaugh, you know, and I couldn't listen to the guy, you know. I couldn't. It just drove me crazy. But I love talk radio. Obviously, I'm doing a podcast right now, and of course that was many years ago. So now, you know, I kind of look at somebody even like Rush Limbaugh. You know, he's had a long career. You know, he's had a lot of accolades and a lot of time behind the microphone. And I gotta say, even though I don't really like him and I don't like his message and all that, I could admire the fact that he's stayed with it as long as he has, and he's made of it what he has made of it. And I'm not a Rush Limbaugh fan, you know. Can you do that as a happy innovator? Can you look at somebody you don't really like, but can you still respect them? Isn't that kind of important? I think it's important, right? To be able to completely disagree with someone, but disagree with them respectfully and treat them with dignity, right? I hope that in the months to come, because I have a feeling this whole ballot thing, election thing is not going to end anytime soon. And I hope that we are able to find some resolution, right, to the problems and the questions and the issues. It's actually kind of, when you really think about it, it's kind of an amazing event that's happening right now. And it's happening on the world stage. You know, it's like for all the world to see. Like, in my best estimation, I kind of get the impression that there's a lot of people that are questioning, okay, this idea of democracy and republic, and does it work? You know, is it the right way to go? And I gotta say, right now, we're living through a time when, if you're somebody who is questioning the idea of democracy and republic, we are watching it play out right now. We are watching it at work. The election came and went. There were issues and questions, and the framers of our Constitution, okay, had made provisions for that in the Constitution. Like yet another example of how the Constitution that was drawn up by the framers, the fundamental things that they came up with, were genius. They thought of these things ahead of time. Why? Because they were coming out of a tyrannical environment. They were escaping tyranny, you know? So they knew what they wanted, and they definitely knew what they didn't want, right? And they made provisions, they built provisions into our Constitution to protect the elections and how votes are drawn up and all that. And you know what? I get it with the people that voted for Biden. I get it. You know, they were excited, they were relieved, they were happy. You know, they had gotten the result that they wanted. The same feeling, the same feeling that the pro-Trump people had back in 2016. You know, joy, hope, all good things, And I gotta say that over the past 4 years, it was kind of a bummer sometimes to see how rough people were on Trump. And I would imagine that it won't be any different for Biden, But the bottom line is this, right? That all Americans should be concerned about the vote counts. Like, we should all be concerned about that. Like, even back in 2000, when all that stuff shook down with George Bush and Al Gore, you remember the hanging chads and all that stuff. I remember being really disappointed then too, even though I had not voted for either candidate. I was disappointed that there was scandal. I was disappointed in that, and I'm not 100% sure. How can we be? But I'm not 100% sure that what happened to Al Gore wasn't wrong. I don't know. It felt wrong. Something about it felt wrong, and it kind of felt like, the president-elect had not really earned it, and that Al Gore had it taken away from him in some underhanded way or something. That's what it felt like. Am I saying that's what happened? No, but that's what it felt like to me, And that was another case where I didn't have a dog in the race. Just kind of thought about it, like, yeah, something's not right there. And if that happened, and let's say that Al Gore was cheated out of his presidency, which I don't know for sure either way, but if he was, that's wrong too. You know what I mean? Like, let's get the vote count right. And if there's any kind of issues with that, like they were saying last, 2016, there were questions about the election and ballots and whether it was fair. You know what? Let's come up with a way, and we can get a guy to the moon, supposedly, and we can do all these amazing things. Let's get it together on the election ballot thing so that it's not, let's get our best minds in the room together from both sides of the aisle, and let them hash it out. Let them kind of come up with a way, something, amendments to our system, the system, how it's done maybe, I'm not a civics expert, I'm not. I don't claim to be. I don't even know if they teach civics anymore in schools but you remember, right? Civics class, where you learned about how government works and you learned about how our democracy works. I'll tell you what, as Americans right now, every single American, and really all the people all over the world that are watching this, we're all about to get like the world's biggest civics lesson ever, of how this thing plays out and how it's done and the protocols and the procedures. We'll watch it play out, and they'll count the votes accurately and fairly in a way that is pleasing and satisfying to all people involved. And that's how I feel. If there was any kind of horseplay with the election or voting and ballot stuffing and all that stuff, if that happened, okay, then I am all for, a recount. Okay, let's do a recount and let's make sure that we got our shit straight, because what is more important than who wins is that all votes count. Democrat, Republican, or independent. That we can all be assured in this age of technology where it's so easy to cheat, it's so easy to do that stuff and not get caught, okay? that we come up with some way where everyone involved, both sides of the aisle, can be sure that there was no horseplay, there was no foul play with the votes. Like with Al Gore, or like the situation we have now, there's gotta be some way, some brilliant genius hanging out in America somewhere, who comes up with the way, how votes can be collected and counted fairly in a way where everybody knows for sure that the vote count is true. It matters more than anything else right now. I talked about this a couple episodes back when I was talking about there's no real way to count the votes. Like, that's the biggest problem in America. I was saying this months ago, like, the biggest problem is not COVID. The biggest problem is not, wearing a mask, or the biggest problem is not like how much toilet paper is at the grocery store or how much hand sanitizer is available. What really matters is, how do we count these votes? Like I said, I'm not a civics expert. I don't know, but somebody else out there is. I spend my days making music and stuff. That's what I do, but there's got to be somebody out there who just is kind of like, what they do is like figure out how to do elections and stuff, right? Please step forward at this time, whoever you are, and become a famous American, for saving our electoral process, making it so that Democrats and Republicans are satisfied after each election, that at least knowing that the count was true. And if they do a recount on these votes and it turns out that Donald Trump is the president, then he's my president. I won't get violent. I won't get angry. I won't have sour grapes. That's the president. And if they do a recount, and it turns out that Biden did in fact win, he's my president. I'm not gonna bitch. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna go around burning buildings down and flipping out and hurting people and stuff because I didn't get the president I wanted. No way. The president is the president. You gotta respect the office. That's my opinion. That's how I feel about it. And whether it be Joe Biden or Donald Trump, as far as I'm concerned, whoever is genuinely elected president, without question, once the counts are verified and everything, however it is, when the dust settles, that's my president, and you won't hear any belly aching from me, regardless of who it is. Why? Because there are some things that are more important to me than who wins the election. Like what? Like how I treat people, how I consider my fellow citizens, right? It's not a kumbaya moment either, all right? I'm not saying that we all need to hold hands and, that's not what I'm saying, but damn it, at least some kind of baseline form of respect, that we are all part of this together, that we can have our differences, and we can disagree passionately, but we can also disagree respectfully. And you know what? I could go on and on all day, talking about this stuff, trying to drill it into your head, but I'm not going to do that. I think I've said enough. Probably said too much, and it's too soon to really be talking about any of this stuff anyway, really, because I'll tell you what, in the next month or so, or next week even, probably so much stuff is going to shake down and change. Nobody really knows for sure anything. It's like up in the air, and it's always been this way. This is not new. It's always been this way, and we'll see how it plays out. And the world will be watching. America showing the world how either A, we can do it great and respectfully, and just masterfully resolve these differences, or not. one way or another. Everybody's watching, though. And I'm actually, in some ways, I'm kind of impressed. I'm kind of fascinated that this can happen. I live in a country where this can happen, where there can be an election, there can be something like that, and somebody has a question or a doubt, and it can be addressed. I think that's fantastic. That's not a sign of a weak system, like a weak democracy or a weak republic. That's a sign of a robust and strong democracy and a strong republic. It's fascinating. However it settles out, however it shakes down in the end, we all live in a country where that can happen. So, before we get too carried away with how wrong we've got it here in America, the old US of A, let's remember, how right we get it sometimes too. And this could be the most shining example of our democracy and our republic for all the world to see. That we get it right. We can do this right. And it can be true. And we can all be, in the end, if we're not completely satisfied with whoever the president is, whoever it is, we can at least be satisfied that the votes were counted correctly. And I remember, for the past 20 years, every time the elections come around, there was always somebody talking about election reform, like there needs to be changes, we need to change it. And it never changed, because the election would come and go, and then people would forget again. And then another election would roll around, and hey, we should have election reform. And people would ignore it again. But this time, nobody's going to ignore it. And after this is said and done, after all of this process is done, there will be no more Al Gore hanging chads. There will be no more miscounts and fraudulent stuff. It will be true, clear, transparent for both parties, for all citizens involved. That's how I see it. I see it as a positive. If Joe Biden is, your guy, and you feel that he got elected, then it will reflect in the vote count. The system will show that Joe Biden did in fact win, and if that's the case, like I said, then he's my president. Okay. And vice versa, if they do a recount and they find out there was some foul play, there was some shady stuff going on, and it's Trump, then he's my president too. And it's not just a matter of taking what I'll get, it's a matter of respect for the office, And let's hope that both candidates, whoever becomes president, in the end will, kind of like treat us all with a gentle hand, won't rock the boat too much, but, maybe that's asking too much. So, anyway, that's enough talking for now. Probably pissed enough people off. If I did, I'm sorry. I really am not trying to do that. Just trying to, what am I trying to do? Let's see, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to express my opinion about the situation from a center point of view. I'm neither left nor right. That's all. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, my happy innovators, I'm going to stop talking for now. I'm going to shut up. And I can hear the applause. Finally, this jackass is shutting up. But remember, folks, if you want to keep what you've got to give it away. And a little mutual respect will get us all there safely. So, peace out. Red states, blue states, whoever you are, whatever you are. Peace out. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're happy. Hope you're not too disappointed or whatever, And God bless America. Talk to you next time. All right, happy innovators, you brave ones who decided to stick around to the end of the podcast for some music. I got a song I want to share in lieu of all this political stuff that's going on right now, this craziness. I have a song I wrote a long time ago, probably 2011. I re-recorded it in 2017 for the Escons album. It was a song called Stand Up. And I know I was kind of writing it from like an activist angle, like a song for an activist or a song for a political movement, that kind of sound and that kind of lyric, I thought it was an interesting kind of angle to come from. And so, the song is called Stand Up, and kind of like standing up for what you believe and what you want, and standing up to power, and speaking truth to power, and all those kinds of things, like that kind of spirit, really, in my opinion, the American spirit. That is the American spirit. And at least in my world, in my mind. So have a listen. I recorded it twice. The first time I recorded it, I wound up losing the session. It was accidentally deleted, by my system. That happens, So I had done all this work. I had this song. I had finished mixes of the song, but the actual session that had all the instruments and singing and guitars and all that, erased, gone, instantaneously gone one day. And that was it. All that work was gone. So in 2017, I decided to start over again, redo it, and release it. And that's what I did. And that's what you're going to hear. So pipe choir, stand up, and hang in there, everybody. Have faith. Have faith in our republic and in our democracy and in each other, and have respect for each other. And stand up for what you believe in. Amen.
ground. Stand